I had to learn to be confident in what I was doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would get a vibe from the actors that they didn't really like the idea or
Yeah.
the script and stuff like that. So that was a knock-on effect on my confidence and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So that was one of the reasons why I stopped writing for many years. It's good to have goals,
Yeah.
but don't make your career your life. My career is attached to my personality and who I am,
Yeah.
but it's not healthy to be like that.
Yeah.
Get something you never had. You have to do something you never did.
You know, what's it just ready, yeah?
Yeah, I'm just ready. I don't want no water. Okay, like I don't want to be going to the bathroom. I'm ready. No pressure. No
Funny
pressure.
enough, I actually have a cold this morning
Oh,
on the day of the podcast.
it's all right. I don't hear it in the voice.
don't
It's
hear
all
it,
good. It's all good.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a new year, to a new time with the Paper Trails podcast. Unfortunately, today I'm not with my co-hosts who are away doing mischievous things. I am solo dolo today. Well, not really solo. Today I am joined by an incredible guest, a man with many abilities, a storyteller, director, a writer, producer. So many things that, you know what, I think we'd run out of times to say. But he goes by the name of Kashif Boothe.
Oh, thank you for that reception.
There would be more
I'm
people
happy
here
to be.
to clap. I'll probably
I am happy to be here. Thank you
Nah,
so much. I
No
love
problem.
that reception.
I appreciate you coming.
Of course.
You know,
Of course.
to be fair, you've helped me out with quite a few things. It's just
Mhm.
usually it's just a message, and then you're pretty much
Yeah,
there.
I'm here to help every creative out and stuff. Look, if we don't help each other, then how are you gonna grow?
No, absolutely. And
So-
you know what? That's not really common. To be fair, I feel like a lot. Well, I mean, not to say that obviously people do it in a bad way or with bad intentions, but the ability to just come over and help anyone, especially someone you haven't met before,
Mhm.
and to just help them out with their content, and then trust that what they're doing is okay, and it doesn't make you look too bad, and all of this stuff, and then to come back in, I appreciate that.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. I feel like if you don't help each other, then you're helping the next person, and
Yeah,
then that's
absolutely.
gonna inspire you to help the next person. Look, as far as I'm concerned, we all are gonna win. Everyone's journey is different, so you not helping somebody because you feel like they're not good enough. That's
Yeah,
just the wrong
absolutely,
attitude to have.
That's how it is. I feel like that form of networking is always the best as well.
Yes, I agree.
I forgot who said it, and I might butcher it, but it was something along the lines of networking sideways, not up.
Mhm. Yes.
Basically connecting with people that are kind of in your space,
yeah.
and then growing up together like that.
Yeah, Issa Rae famously said that as well. Like she said, we have a tendency to always network up, but it's
Up,
about networking around you. Who wants to write, who wants to direct, who wants to
Exactly.
be a gaffer.
Yeah.
Those are the people who you should network with.
Yeah.
It is important to network up, obviously,
Yeah.
but network across, because when you all move up in the industry, you know who to call on, who was
Exactly.
there, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
and you learn people and their different talents, and you actually realize how small the world is. Like meeting someone, you're like, oh, you knew this
Very.
person.
yes,
know?
exactly.
But I feel like I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Shamaki, also go by the name Sharks Polaroid. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I've got a bit of a sore throat. But I had to soldier on through. I couldn't let Kashif down, couldn't let myself down, couldn't let my family down, couldn't let my parents down, But yeah, like I said, this is the Paper Trails podcast, formerly known as Inspyre Reads, where we talked about books, covered books.
Okay.
But I wanted to make it a bit different with you today, by not necessarily just going after one book,
Okay.
because I feel like you're talented in many different areas, and I feel like you'd be able to drop gems on.
Okay. Oh, no pressure.
No pressure, of course. You know what I mean? If there are no gems, you know what the door is. But now I feel like just to center it around one book, feel like I'm gonna do enough. But like I said, it is a book podcast, book based, and movies and anything really creative. I just wanted to know your first kind of gateway into literature, or at your earliest stage.
That's a good question. I would say probably from a child, really. Always was reading a lot. My parents are always big readers, especially my mom. So I grew up kind of reading books all the time and stuff like that. So I got into a lot of Roald Dahl books and Harry Potter books, obviously, like, that was a huge thing. So,
Classic.
I remember reading a book in a day, like 300 pages when I was young.
Harry Potter book?
No. I wish.
Say, God damn.
I wish.
I would have given you the host.
But that's just how I used to be, reading a lot of books. And even just as I got older into secondary school, same thing as well. Like, I won some books for like a school achievement progress thing. So they gave us like free books as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would read like 2 to 3 books at the same time. Just like I'd read a chapter here, then go here. And then I remember one day we were cleaning out the cupboard in my house, and then I saw a Malcolm X book, and it was a biography, but also his speeches. No, it wasn't, but it was no, but it's a biography of him, not an autobiography like that one. But it was also his speeches as well. So at 13, I read that, and that was really inspiring. And Malcolm X has always been my favorite anyway. So I just tend to always have just been creative as well, and just reading books, and then also going to performing arts school when I was quite young as well. So I've always kind of been in it before I decided to kind of
interesting.
Do behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Would you say it was like your favorite type of genre of books? Or was it kind of just anything? Because obviously you said Harry Potter, which is more fantasy, then you said Malcolm X, which is more,
Well, growing up, I didn't read fiction books. I mean, what am I saying? I did read fiction books, but I didn't read non-fiction books.
Non-fiction,
So I was reading a lot of like dramas and comedy. I remember reading a Benjamin Zephaniah book called Gangster Rap, and I got gifted that by one of my dad's friends, and he gave me that, and that was about an aspiring rap group, and that was really good as well. So like I grew up just reading a lot about fiction and stories that I could relate to as a young black man. And just sometimes things I didn't relate to. So that's what I grew up
Seems like
reading.
It was a very diverse
definitely.
like bunch of books. That's I thought, it wasn't going to be that much. Usually to be fair, people are like, I'm just like, even myself, I wouldn't say I was necessarily the biggest reader. Kind of got into reading more and more as I grew older. As I got into storytelling, I was like, okay, let me actually see how, because I loved like Lord of the Rings and obviously Harry Potter, but you just look at the books, and for me that felt daunting.
I understand.
That's why Roald Dahl was great. It was like small, concise, to the point. And would you say then that's kind of influenced your storytelling, or do you feel like did you feel like you would write stories as a kid?
I don't think I did.
Or you're more into like the aspect of like kind of reading?
I think I was reading as a child, but I don't think it impacted my storytelling, because it wasn't until I was about 13 where I was like, okay, I want to study media and I want to understand what that's about. I wanted my own platform and show to like make stuff people could relate to. So I feel like I fell out of books. I didn't really read them a lot after, when I was in college and university. Well, you had to do your required reading at uni. Of course, that was horrible. But it wasn't until like I started to work more actually, and I was, started in the industry, and I just really got into reading. I had loads of books on my iPad, so I was just reading constantly, fiction books as well. It's not until like the last few years where I've done more non-fiction books, looking for stuff to inspire me as a creative, but also as a business owner, as an entrepreneur as well. So looking at what other people have done, my peers or people who I aspire to, that's how it's kind of gone. So I wouldn't say books have influenced my storytelling, but creative writing is the first thing you learn in school. So that in a way does influence you because of you being able to shape ideas, form and sentences, build character arcs and stuff like that.
Yeah. And also you mentioned that the other non-fiction books and stuff like that helped you with, your businesses and stuff like that. Is there anything that you read recently that you remember on top of your head that gave you a good bit of insight?
One book that I read a couple years ago, it's called The Professional Troublemaker by Lovey Ajayi Jones. And one thing that she really said, what stuck out to me, was when you're applying for a job or you're going for a job and, go into it with the salary expectations you want. Don't lowball yourself. Go in with it, because HR, that's their responsibility to negotiate a salary with you. And 9 times out of 10, they have what you're asking for. But they will happily say, oh, okay, you want 30,000, fine. They probably had an extra 5,000 in there. But unless you go in there with what you're looking for, then that's it. I interviewed for a producer job last year and they were offering me like 28,000 a year, and they asked me my salary expectations and I said 40 plus up, and I saw in their faces like, oh no, this isn't it. So I knew they wanted me, but I'm not gonna lowball myself.
Of course.
What's 28k a year? That's nothing,
especially for a producer. No?
I was very surprised. So I was like, nah, it's okay. So that's one thing what stuck out to me as well. There's another book,
but just to touch on that, I feel like it's like for me personally, for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's just my negotiation skills. I'm not that great at, I feel like I would be asking for too much. Okay. So it's just a case of how do you get into the mindset of this is what it's worth. Would you have to like check previous like people's salaries and what they were on and then go, this is the sort of like ballpark to kind of go for?
I feel like sometimes it's about talking to other people who are your peers in the industry. So if you can I will talk to other producers and we'll say, okay, well, this is how much they're offering, or what, that's really low, like you should go for this. Sometimes it's your experience and you will understand how much time and effort you're putting into something. So the pay has to match that. You know, it can depend on what the project is and what their budget is, but it's up to you. If you know you can get work somewhere else and you're not going to lose anything by turning that job down, then it's fine. But it's also confidence. You have to gain confidence. When I first started in the industry, I wasn't negotiating anything. I was like, oh, you want to offer me this? Yeah, sure. Like, I will just take it. But as you get older and you know your worth and you understand the game of the industry, then you're like, okay, well, I'm not accepting that. I can find it better and stuff like that. And during that time when I had the interview, I was already offered something like £10,000 more in salary. So why was I gonna lowball myself for that? No.
The reason why even it popped into my mind, and you know, you talking about non-fiction as well, is because initially, every time I'll kind of think of non-fiction, I'll just think of self-help books.
Okay.
And I always had this perception of like self-help books, which is like, oh, if you believe, you will achieve, and you know, just like the typical sort of cliche, like sort of, you know, like essentially, if you believe, you will achieve, and like not necessarily giving actual proper advice. Okay. And that's what initially I thought non-fiction was, and then I kind of got into it through like just biographies and this and that. Until I came across Atomic Habits. Have you?
No, not heard of that.
Atomic Habits is good. Especially, I feel like it'll be great for you as well. Especially in the medium that you're in. I just had had to blow my nose there. Off camera.
Listen, you could have kept that off camera. You know, you really didn't need to say.
It's true. But I feel like
do the magic of editing. Like, come
it would just be a big cut of like, and then just something new, you know, combo.
That's funny.
But now, like I was saying, Atomic Habits would be especially good for someone, especially in your field.
Check it out.
It's basically that book there kind of obviously shaped that. And have you heard of Still Like an Artist?
Sounds familiar. I think I have.
Still Like an Artist is another great book. It's my co-host Mo, who's usually here, his favorite book as well. But I'll go back to Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is basically a book that's trying to teach people getting into the psychology of, rather than having like crazy goals as the main like focus all the time, just having small little increments to change your like lifestyle. To, let's say, for example, your main goal is to always be up at like 6 a.m.
Okay.
It won't be to just wake up 6 a.m. It would be like something small, like maybe around like 9 p.m. Just stop watching TV and then go into like start reading. Okay. 10 p.m. do, you know, just something small that leads you towards thing. And it sounds like very almost ignorant to say, but it blew my mind in terms of, because like with me, when it came to books, my only like connection to it was just storytelling. And then when it was this to kind of like give you pointers and assessments in life, it was great. It's kind of like we just said right now about negotiations, and you know, definitely be looking into that. You are a writer.
Yes.
You're a producer.
Uh-huh.
And your first like production was it Nate and Jamie? Or did you have something before that?
I had stuff before, but I don't count those.
You can't count those.
Because like I was at university, that was me like learning the craft and, you know, not knowing much. So Nate and Jamie was the first production I'd say was really my baby and like the first one that really put me out there. So yeah.
So what about the ones before that? Let's just touch on to them a little bit. You said it was in uni.
Yeah.
And did you do a course on like filming and stuff?
Well, yeah. I did a film degree at university. So I made loads of projects while I was at university, and then also outside. Like I was making stuff, you know, at local film school that I was going to in Elephant and Castle with my friends and stuff like that. So we made loads of films as well. So that was just you know, doing what we loved and really enjoyed and
just
stuff like that.
Experimenting.
Yeah, but in terms of like my career, I would say it starts from Nate and Jamie. Well, my independent career.
Yeah, of course. So. And obviously there must be a criteria to it. Not only just because the university stuff was your first kind of drafts and stuff, but what would you say was the criteria or the thing that made you go, okay, Nate and Jamie is my first one I'm gonna actually classify?
I just feel like because that was me actually establishing my brand outside of my day-to-day job, which was like at that time a production assistant / runner within the TV industry. So I knew that I wanted to create projects. So initially it wasn't supposed to be a web series. It was just supposed to be a sketch. So I just wanted to create loads of stuff. And the lead character in it, Jamie, the guy who plays him called Josh, he's the one who told me a story one day. We were just out and he told me a story about how he was in Shoreditch and him and his best friend, they saw a girl who he found attractive and then like he saw her across the road. So he convinced his boy to go into the shop and try and move to her and stuff. And it didn't go to plan. And I was laughing. I found it so funny. So I always remembered it. And he told me that story in 2014. And we didn't make it until 2016. And I just wrote a script about it. And I just thought, okay, this is great. I got Nate, who is played by Samuel Williams. He's a funny guy, so I knew he would bring the laughs and really take my ideas and to another level.
Yeah, of course.
So and that was it. I put it out, and then that was it. I was just like, this is what I want to do. And then the reaction was crazy. Like loads of people watched it. It got 1,000 views so fast. People were sharing me all of the feedback they were getting from people I didn't know, and they were like, "No, it can't end like that. We need to see part 2 and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, well, I should turn this into a show."
Into something.
So I ended up writing 5 more episodes and then we shot it over like 6 months or so.
6 months, because obviously I saw, I'd say all the ones that are on your channel. Kashif Boothe, and obviously you had a little cameo on one of them, or you just sitting on a table.
Yes. Budget limitations were there. So, and then other crew members had been extras in it, or they had to be on the camera doing their thing. So I was like, okay, I'll just be in the back. So.
But I was going to say, it was like on the budget is like, how was it? Just kind of whatever money everyone had around, and then, or were you like sort of the main person, and you just told your friend, listen, this is the script I wrote. Do you want to be a part of it? Or was everyone kind of chipping in to actually make this thing work?
It was all me. Like, it's my vision. It's my idea. I own the show.
Yeah.
Very important.
Because they were good actors as well. That's what I was confused about,
You know, like, own your IP, guys. Like, I own the show. I own everything.
Yeah.
So it's my show. So it's like, I was funding everything. People were coming to be a part of it because a lot of them wanted to learn. A lot of them wanted to support me as my friend. The actors, they also wanted to fill up their resume and their portfolios, show reels and stuff like that. So they were happy to do it. And the guy, Josh, who played Jamie, it was, you know, he found it hilarious that also I took, you know, a story he said and just made it into that. So they were all happy to be a part of it. Yes, nobody was being paid and stuff because it was all out of my pocket and we just didn't have the funds at all. But it was a great experience.
That's what it looks like. It looks like something because you my friends, Mo, my other co-host, we used to do skits. Yeah, it was very low budget. Just we bring friends about, and then like we had maybe a couple soft lights, and then we did like all sorts. But obviously, they'll never see the light of day. But it's in that kind of thing of like, did you feel that sense before you put it out of like doubt in the work and when maybe you know what, let me not actually put this out, let me keep it, or was it kind of like I actually feel this is the one that I want to kind of go with?
Oh, I never liked any of it.
Okay.
No. But I was like, we didn't have the budget, we didn't have the resources. But one thing that I learned, and I had to keep reminding myself that, the content, it's all about the content. Of course, everyone knows we don't have the budget. Yeah. So,
but to be fair though, it looked pretty good.
I mean,
like you even had was it a restaurant that you hired out, or a bar or something?
Yeah, true. I mean, it was a lot of tough work. I always use Issa Rae's Awkward Black Girl web series as an example. That was not good production quality, but the content was there. It was funny and it went viral. So as long as the content's there, then it's fine. Yeah. People expect you to improve. And that's what we did. Each production after that, the production quality got better and better and better. And even to this day in my career, my projects always look better than the last. Yeah. And that's what you should be doing.
The improvements.
I think nowadays, I don't think people are really like that. I feel like because social media is so harsh, people aren't going to respect you if you're putting out
social
rubbish.
Media is weird now.
And I think it's a little bit easier, but at the same time, it's just different now. When I was putting out things, it was on the brink of social media becoming toxic.
Yeah, but on top of that, though, even those kind of like sort of long format, sort of skit stories, like for example, obviously there was Diary of a Bad Man.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah, but like that at one point, like those kind of formats of like storytelling and like these short, that was like everything at one point, because
it
was like not enough things on TV, and YouTube was becoming this thing of like actual good quality was being poured onto there.
Sorry to disturb your viewing. At this point here, the other camera cut out, so it's just like a good 20 minutes of just my face, which may or may not be a good thing, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Back onto the show.
But I feel like now it's just kind of everyone wants these quick, like maybe 2 minutes max, unless you've got like a gripping story to tell. Or, and do you feel like that kind of affects your craft, or do you feel like you don't really pay attention too much to that?
I don't think it affects my craft because I've moved away from the internet space.
Yeah.
I did 4 web series, so I understood the market a bit better. I feel like when I first started doing it, I wanted to make sure that it was short form content which people could enjoy quickly, have the beginning, try and understand the motivation of the character throughout the episodes, so you understand what it is. The middle will kind of get to, the conflict, and then the end will have a big laugh, or sometimes it might be a bit of both in the beginning, middle and end, and stuff like that. Different laughs or the character development or story development throughout the whole series, and I'd keep it short and sweet so that people could binge the show in like half an hour. I wanted to keep people engaged. I feel like nowadays even back then, I feel like there's always going to be a target audience who's going to be for you. There's some people who will sit down and watch a 40-minute episode on YouTube. People will do that.
Yeah, of course.
But some people won't. So for me, I wanted to get the balance of both audiences, people who have short attention spans and people who love to sit down and watch a show regardless of what platform it's on. So I think nowadays, because every social media platform has some sort of video, you also have to just find your target audience. There's TikToks for like 10 minutes. People are sitting down and watching those for 10 minutes. Do you get what I mean? Same with Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. So I don't think it's changed. I just feel like the way how algorithms are, you're going to see what you like and what you're attracted to, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it works.
Also, you smashed it as well by saying that essentially content is the key.
Yeah.
What you put out, because obviously if it's a 10-minute TikTok video and TikTok is meant to be just a quick, like, okay,
and it used
capture
to be.
it now and then you swipe, you know?
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, if you're sitting down for like a 10-minute thing, then this must be, you've got to be able to keep the content.
Remember, you're holding your phone. Like TikTok isn't on like YouTube and stuff where you can have it on like your iPad or your computer. Yeah. Well, you can, but it's not the same effect. So people are just chilling maybe in their bed or just on the sofa and stuff like that.
And you could easily swipe up, which I feel like that for some reason like almost makes it quicker to just dismiss something, you know?
Yeah. If it doesn't catch you, you're like, okay, next.
Yeah, next. And then that's it. You don't have to go out of something and go back in, type in a new video and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Because obviously I've tried to, essentially the kind of TikToks that I do at the moment mostly are like in that 2 minute to 5 minutes. It's kind of more, I guess, comedy / informative.
Yes, I've seen them. They're good. I find them so funny.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But it's sometimes it's kind of like it's you're looking at it in a form of like TikTok, and you see like your younger siblings and who are obviously avid TikTok users, and in the back of my mind, I'm always kind of like sort of adjusting it for them, thinking, is this too long for, like, for example, my younger brother and my sister who are like, I'm like, okay, is it too long for them to watch it now?
Okay.
What do you need to add on to keep them to, you know, it's like a lot of.
But then trying to do a good comedy sketch in like a minute is very hard. Yeah. But then do you remember in Vine that was 6 seconds and they used to get it, and that was fantastic. So there are ways, but then it's Vine, having a platform like Vine kind of, like we said, ruins people's short attention span because you know, they just don't want to watch something what's not even a minute.
6 seconds.
6
seconds.
You know? So I understand.
I mean, that's just what it is. I feel like content creating is an interesting one. I feel like I always liked the Will Smith thing where he was on an interview and he was like, it's a very lonely road. Obviously, he said it a lot better than
just that long.
He didn't say it's so depressing, but he was like, it can be a long, you know, road, and it's like, especially at the beginning, like, except no one can really see where it's going or where you plan it to kind of be. You just kind of have to show people. Some people might not understand it, and some people, you know, might do. And obviously, it's like you've now, let's say, at that moment when you've come up with this idea to do Nate and Jamie, and you're writing the script, was there a point where you was like, you know what, maybe this isn't it?
Yeah, all the time. You know, you will write a draft and you're like, okay, I don't like this, and I'll go back and cross that out. And a lot of the time as well, like, especially in the first season of Nate and Jamie, it was a lot of improv as well. So Nate, the character Nate, I would let him
express himself.
I'd let him, you know, play with the lines. I'm not very rigid when it comes to lines. Like, I know some directors and writers, they want you like, say this line.
This is why I wrote it.
I'm fine for them to make it, humanize it, you know, make it more natural for them to say. And I was fine with that. But what was good was that they still went very close to like almost everything that I said as well. I would often sometimes on the day cut out scenes and change it and tell them, okay, add this line, do that, because I didn't like how it was moving along. It wasn't working. So we did that a lot, like especially in the first episode and what was in the bar and stuff. Like on the day I cut out one of the scenes where where all of them were coming into the restaurant. There was supposed to be a whole scene where, you know, the character Nate gave one of his dates cheap flowers and stuff like that. I literally cut all of that. I cut all of that out because I was like, you know what, I feel like it works fine. But then I did have doubt in the edit. I was like, oh, does this look realistic and stuff like that? But I had to get loads of feedback. I was like, what are you talking about? It's fine. It's work. But because I had that scene in my head, I was thinking, oh, does it work or doesn't it work? So that's also how it goes as well. You're always editing right down to the last minute.
The last second.
Even in the edit, I've cut out loads of scenes or as well. So
I've got to give it to you, man. It takes a lot of. I always say it from my perspective because it's like I remember I was even writing stuff for a while, which was kind of like The Office / that kind of like mockumentary on people that run a YouTube studio. They're trying to make YouTube videos and try to pop, that way.
Okay.
And all the troubles that, come with it. But it's like, I can't get past the first page. I'm like, it doesn't start off right. It doesn't start off,
Okay.
And it's just like getting past that. Is it just at a certain point you just have to go, is what it is?
You have to just kind of go with it. Like, for me, I'm currently doing a screenwriting course as well at the moment. I haven't written in years, but I wanted to refine my skills, and I'm taking every single course that I can. Yeah. But for me, how I would usually write, I'm quite old school. I would write everything by hand. Yeah. So I would have my notebooks, and then I would just start to write. Yeah. I kind of get into this weird zone where I zone out, and I just write. And then I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. But then also another way to write is also doing a whole format layout. So then actually breaking down the script, having a chart. Okay, you got this character, let's say Jack, and what's his motivation? What's the arc that you want to take him on? Yeah. If you brainstorm ideas as to where you want each story to go, then it should be able to be easier for you to write. Then you don't get stuck on the first page, and at least you know, like,
where it's going.
This is the beginning, this is where he's gonna go, in what's gonna take him towards the middle and towards the end, and you've got to kind of figure out in that whilst brainstorming the message of the episode or film that you're doing. What's the resolution? What's the conflict? Those are the things you then can break down before you start writing. So if you can't get past the first page, do that. Break down your idea. And then it should be able to help
it gives you kind of a pathway to...
and then you can go back. And if you don't like it, go back and change it like that.
Have you felt like, what would you say was a script or like a movie that's made you go, wow, how did they even think of that?
I would say,
gosh, blown you away.
That is a hard question because there's so many.
There's already
so many, but I would think of like Quentin Tarantino films, like with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Like, love those. First it's a non-linear narrative. And then when you watch it like hundreds of times, you understand how all the stories are interlinked and how it works. If it was a linear narrative as well, I thought I'd love to write something like that. Like, how do you write something out of sync? That's what's brilliant. And then you still, as a viewer, you kind of then have to piece it together, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. What else is there? I would say like shows like Insecure as well. Those scripts are brilliant because it's not just relatable, but also it's funny. But then it's also, the character arcs, the motivation of each character as well, and how they were able to really make it relatable to the audience and cause such a discussion. Because if you were watching it, when at its peak, it was so much conversation online, people, sharing their tidbits and stuff like that. And that's again about being able to have the impact on the audience,
of course, to want them to speak about it.
Exactly. And so when you have scripts like that, that's what's really good as well.
Yeah. I feel like that's everyone's dream, or every creator's dream, to kind of put work out there that's then getting discussed by so many different people and so many like different ways that someone's interpreted, you know? Do you also look at scripts? Like, do people send them to you as well? Or do you...
Yes, they do. I read about 6 today.
6 today.
Yes.
What do you look for that you would consider is a good script?
I think that's a loaded question. Yeah. I feel like it's not like, the thing is, like, everyone can learn how to format correctly. Yeah. They can know how to tell a story good. Yeah. But if you don't like it, you don't like it. Yeah. That's just it. Like, sometimes when I'm reading scripts, like sometimes it's because people want me to produce it or they want feedback on it and stuff like that. And then sometimes, a lot of the time, I'm given feedback to how to construct the story or formulate it. Or just give them tips how to, like, break down the characters more. Yeah. Sometimes there might be issues with it, in terms of like a script I read today. There was like one scene which was like 6 pages. Yeah, like that's too much. Long. It needed to be just condensed down. It didn't need to be that long. So for me, it's
all just like dialogue, or was it like describe it? Dialogue?
Bit of both, but just predominantly dialogue, and it was just too much. And stuff like that. So, but then, if I'm looking for something, I'm looking for what I like. I like everything. A lot of the time people ask me, oh, what do you what do you prefer to do? I'm like, I don't have a preference.
Yeah.
Like, I like everything.
Yeah.
And also, I want to tell every single story. So if it's a sci-fi, a thriller, a horror, then if it's good script,
if it's good,
then that's just how it is. But everything is subjective.
Yeah.
So
now, also, I was going to say on the aspect of like something in movies or like in a book that's like made you go crazy, like or like like I said at the time, like a script that's made you go, wow, you know, I wish I could have done that. I would say for me, there was only one of just which was Harry Potter.
Okay.
Funny enough, and it was the idea of how she uses that pen. You know how you. Yeah. Sorry.
Shucks,
yeah,
man.
what am I doing? Basically, so the idea of how she uses the pensive, because a lot of people, they say in movies and this and that, if you go back in time, it's very hard to save the movie. Like, it's not.
Yes.
It's very weak, you know, the whole time travel thing. But like the concept that she uses it in isn't necessarily like going back in, even though you are back in time, you're not necessarily like going back in time to change anything. You're just kind of going back in time to like look at your memory as a kid and then try and piece things together. And I would say the chapter, The Prince's Tale, in like the last book, or even the movie as well, the way they did it, of like Professor Snape's memories, and he's going in and out of it, and you know, all of this stuff, and he's piecing it all together, and you're like, oh snap, so he liked his mum all along. Sorry. But yeah, like I was saying, before we cut off again for, you know, emergency issues.
Shucks.
was that obviously the Prince's Tale and Professor Snape, and you know how she constructed all of that, and even in the movies, it was done so well. It was done so well that it was like, I've always wished to do something like that, you know. But that's the sort of what I meant in terms of if you'd seen something that's made you go, damn, I wish, you know. But obviously, you said the Tarantino.
Yeah, definitely. That's always been like an inspiration for me. I would love to write a script like that. You know, non-linear narrative, like that's been my thing. Like, I feel like, like I've seen other films, like, you know, Moonlight was a great one as well. Stuff like that, hard-hitting dramas. Like Barry Jenkins is a brilliant writer director, so love to write something like that. You know, he really pulls on, you know, the experience of people, and I think that's always been a big thing for me, is to try and do stuff what people can relate to. And that's what I'd want to pull from as well. But I also look at not just writing, but also look at the cinematography and the directing. Like, you know, especially now we're in a time where, you know, cinematographers and gaffers, you know, they understand how to light people of color. And so I'm inspired by how they just light people's skin and the color grade. Like, I just get, I get hyped.
Proper.
Like, I just get so excited when I see like such a sick grade or color. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. Like, that's how you know I'm a nerd. But
proper. That's the nuances,
like that is all what I look for. You know, it's like a whole rounded thing. So I'm looking at so many different elements as well. So.
What about with the whole thing of the Batman and apparently they put something on their lens. Obviously, I think some of you guys are seeing Kashif again.
I can't wait to see this put together.
It was just me for a while.
That's funny.
But we managed to get the other camera sorted out. But obviously, like I said, I don't know where we were when your thing turned off. So we're just going to have to play on. It's just going to be my face for a while.
I mean, there's audio to this as well.
There is audio,
right? So
I think a lot more people listen to the audio.
Yeah. So I get it.
It's all good.
Okay.
But obviously, I just wanted to come back on obviously the stuff that you've done, and I wanted to talk about also about the Batman.
Oh yeah, that's what you was going to. Yeah.
They apparently they switched up the lens that they use. They put like this like colored sort of plastic thing on it.
Oh, okay.
So then, like, even when the rain or the water would hit, it would give it this like sort of more like realistic, grungy sort of look.
Okay, fine. I think I understand what you mean.
Yeah,
I think
might
about
be
the
butchering
film.
it, but it was a pretty cool. It was a cool. Have you seen the Batman?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. Yeah, so I think I understand. I remember the last scene with the rain and the water and all that. So I think I understand what you mean.
Yeah, it was. And there was obviously a few YouTubers that get into the nitty gritties of sound, and like for example, they used the Justin Bieber song "Baby" for the sound of the Batmobile.
Oh, okay.
They like chopped up the sound and just like okay. And it's that's I think for me that's what I also like, the sort of the breaking down of how things were put together and pieced together. But on top of that, obviously you've been in that sector and you've come across not just color grading but also the people there.
Yeah.
How would you say dealing with the people is like once you're in this producing world?
What type of people do you mean?
In terms of like
or?
how would you go about dealing with someone that just isn't feeling what you want to create, or like getting everyone on board with, but more so the negative aspect is a bit more fun. Like in terms of like, let's say there's someone that's like being a bit hard to deal with, or isn't necessarily right, like in the script. You feel like you've come across something like that?
What, in terms of the actor or the crews and stuff like that? A bit
of both, to be fair, when you're trying to make your...
If somebody's being difficult or challenging your vision and stuff like that, especially in the smaller spaces of an independent filmmaker and stuff like that, in my experience, like, I had to learn to be confident in what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I didn't really speak up about certain things, like, let's say sometimes I would get a vibe from the actors that they didn't really like the idea or the script and stuff like that. So that was a knock-on effect on my confidence and stuff like that. So that was one of the reasons why I stopped writing for many years. I just didn't think I was good. But I feel like as you progress and you're in a better position, especially if you're paying people and they're coming with that energy, then you fire them. That's what you do. Why are you working with somebody who's challenging your vision, especially if you're in control and you're the boss? Yeah, you have to always speak up. Always speak up. So I feel like that's the difference. If you're within an industry space, especially if it's the mainstream space and you're in a top industry, working on a commercial or a Batman film and stuff like that, there is a workplace culture which is, in my opinion, can be quite toxic.
Okay.
You're essentially told that you're supposed to put up with certain things. One of the last managers that I had, he basically said that to me.
Yeah.
And it's not something I choose to put up with.
Yeah.
I've been through so much in this industry of people talking to me mad, people working on jobs of TV shows where the lead producer went 8 months not even saying my name because he never bothered to learn how to pronounce it.
Oh, damn. Stuff like that, though. How does that make you feel? In the moment.
I mean, that was like 8 years ago now. So, I think at the time I didn't even notice it. I didn't notice it until I saw him running after me in a corridor, and he kind of went, and I was like, oh, so this man actually does not know my name, and hasn't even bothered to learn how to pronounce my name.
Yeah.
So, or a lot of people mispronouncing my name.
Yeah.
And I never used to say anything. I would just let them say it incorrectly because just didn't have the confidence to say anything,
Also, even starting out.
It's like that. But over time, and especially for me, I can't speak for other people's experience, but for me becoming my own boss and making my own projects, it built my own confidence to be able to walk into so many different rooms, no matter what place you are in your career, if you're a top exec or whatever, and not feel intimidated or not feel nervous. So I'd be able to go in there and just be myself.
Yeah.
So it gets to the point where you start to feel confident and are able to speak up for yourself without fear of being blackballed.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that people tell you to put up with, like how people speak to you, and you know, and I always say to people, there's a difference between being direct and you know, matter of fact and rude. And trust me, there's a thin line
what would
between
you say
both.
The difference, if you could describe it the best way?
Some of the experiences I faced are people who are just like, you know, instead of them saying, "Hi, morning, how are you?" They'll be like, "Can you do this? I need you to do A, B, C, D, like it's just straight to the point. And it's like, okay, fine. You know, that's it. They're not going to sugarcoat anything. They're not going to be like, so I need you to go and do this. They're going to be like, no, I need you to do A, B, C, D and go and do it. Some of the other stuff I've experienced, which are rude, are, you know, people telling you to pay attention when they're speaking to you, chastising you like you're a child,
that's what I was gonna say,
using accusatory language, shouting at you. Making sarcastic comments
as adults, of course.
And these, you know, so those are things like that. So I will call that out, and sometimes people don't like that I will call it out, but I'm going to, because I'm not going to put up with your disrespect. But for so long you're kind of told, oh, this is just how it is, this is what you're going to have to deal with. But it got to a point where I remember I was working on a film with two women, and they were very passive aggressive. One of them was a racist. It was very obvious. And she was coming out with some things which were like, oh, interesting, and homophobic. So she was listing a lot of things, and she was just saying this very casual, and I was like, oh, okay. And long story short, it got to the point where they were just using me as like a cash cow, and they thought I didn't clock onto it. And as soon as I just decided to match their energy of their passive aggressiveness within this production, that's when I saw like it was a change in me, because I was like, okay, well, see, I've been so scared to ever just stand up for myself and stuff, but it's like, as soon as I match your energy, you can't handle it. And then you want to play victim and flip the script. And we're like, oh, what's going on? And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, so you guys aren't anything. Okay, so I see what it is.
Okay, so you just want to dish it out.
And so once you match their energy, then you realize how small it is. So you just have to, you know, speak up. You know, don't be afraid to not speak. You know, even if you're in a situation where, you know, they're just giving you 5-6 tasks to do, and you're like, you know what, this is too much, but you're about to break down because you're so overworked. But it's the fear of, oh, they're gonna say to me or say about me, sorry, like, oh, you can't give so and so that much. They're just gonna get stressed out of it. You know, they're gonna get stressed and stuff like that. So it's about protecting your mental health as well. So
But let's say if they do give you something like that, how do you kind of go about it without giving them the idea that it is too much?
Well, it's about understanding. Or is it about
just stopping it before it gets there?
Yeah, stopping before it gets there. And I feel like it's a 50-50 thing. For me, I'm different. I just don't care. So if you're going to go and say, oh, well, you can't give that to Kashif, he's going to do good, because you know, good for you. Like, it's fine. I know my truth and I know my worth. I know what I've done. So if I feel like it's too much, then it is my breaking point. But I'd rather say no than me saying yes to everything, and then I make a mistake, and then you criticize me even more because I've made a mistake, and then you're gonna go run and tell my manager that, because that's all it is. It's all about talking behind your back and saying this and that about you, and nobody coming to you directly to like,
actually tell you,
are you okay? Like, how's it going? Is this too much for you? But nobody's thinking about that. So that's what it is, the thing. So it's a gamble. You can do what you want to do, but for me, I'm gonna protect my mental health.
Of course. I mean, obviously, as you should, because then it kind of has a knock-on effect of people kind of understand, okay, there is a boundary to. And you know, there's never really anything wrong with creating that boundary, especially if it's done in like in an environment like that where people want to find someone that they can cross it. Because even if they did cross that boundary, it's not like they'll treat you any better. It's just it's like they'll actually treat you even worse.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll kind of, it's like more like almost a lapdog in a sense, that's what they would want.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, cool, we can't take this guy to a certain extent. So then it becomes obviously a lot better for you and other people that probably were feeling like that, but then didn't have the courage to actually.
Yeah. But then that's why people have been having mental breakdowns. And that's why if people weren't speaking up, there wouldn't be the Me Too movement. You know,
exactly. That's
people just silenced. So it's like I started to look at it as well. When I was in Sainsbury's, if I didn't let the manager talk to me mad, why am I going to let you talk to me mad? Because you're holding, as quote unquote, you're holding my career in your hands. You're not. You're not. You're not. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not about challenging everything. Sometimes it's a time and a place, and sometimes know when to speak up about things. But if it gets to the point where it's too much, then it's like, say something. Of course. So that's how I
feel like even like when you touch up on the Me Too movement, it's a bit, I feel like that was an interesting one because it's kind of like they're in a position of trying to make it, but then before they just make it, like for example, Harvey, that's when he would prey on you. It's like that moment of like that. It's not desperation that you want to make it, but it's like, oh, you want to make it, and this is the biggest guy in Hollywood that can make it. He's telling you can have this script, this is specifically for you, and your life's gonna change in like 24 hours, you know?
Yeah.
And then obviously he takes you to a hotel room, all this kind of stuff here. And now it's kind of like everything you've worked hard for. Essentially, it feels like if you then speak up about it and go against him, who at the time was a juggernaut, impossible to bring down, you know? And it's like, okay, I'll lose my career or like I might. So let me just take it.
Move back to your small town.
Move back to
and regular
after being
job.
so close, after being in the fancy hotel, getting the nice dinners, I was like, damn, I have to leave this because of this guy. And obviously, it's kind of like that in a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
Because there are people that may be above you, but then start to treat you in a way, then you're kind of like, okay, speaking back might cause me maybe sometimes more harm than good, but sometimes it might.
But it's the way you do it. It's the way you do it. You can be diplomatic. You don't need to cuss them out. Like, no, you don't need to do all that. Of course, you can be diplomatic and
let them know where you stand.
Yeah, let them know where you stand as well. That's just how it is. Like when I say I matched those two devils' energy, I just gave them the same energy back. Like you're giving me this back, and it was an independent film, so it wasn't like a big one. But
of course,
but when it's been in the mainstream level as well, like I've just been diplomatic about it. I've, spoke my truth and said, you know what, this is not what I appreciate, especially within the workplace and stuff like that. Just come to them man to man, woman to man, like on the level, and even sometimes they didn't like that as well, because sometimes people don't like to be called out on their own ish. Like they just don't like it, and even if you're coming to them in a respectful way, they just don't like it. So you're also dealing with lots of egos as well.
And of course. So, especially in an industry like that.
But
I was gonna say also is like you've to kind of move on from the negative aspect.
More to
the positive stuff, which is obviously you've been at film festivals.
Yes.
Had a show on Amazon. And what would you say is the biggest like sort of highlight of your career so far? Or like what was the thing? Okay, let me put it in context because this is I've never actually said this, I think, ever online, but I always say it to my friends and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But if on my house, I'll probably get I'm not too much of a big fan of like craziness on the walls. Okay. If I was to get something like proper big and like lights and everything, it would just be the phrase "It's happening, Penny Lane."
Okay.
Now this is I realized after doing my own research on it, I've butchered it, but I've taken on this meaning my own way, and that's what art is, it's subjective. It's how I've taken it.
Yeah.
And it's basically from a Drake line where he's talking about basically him, this was before he had his first album and all the stuff. So he's getting there, and so he's like, and one of the lines that he says is "It's happening, Penny Lane." So I kind of like checked out to see what it was, and it's basically about this lady that's a pop star, and things are starting to now finally come together. And then she goes, "It's happening. It's all happening, right?"
Okay.
So the meaning that I took after it is essentially that moment, like where an artist or a book or a writer finally sees their name on like a newspaper, or they see themselves on maybe an article, and then they see themselves somewhere else, and then they're finally getting this exposure, and it's more and more, and you go, "Oh wow, it's actually happening now."
Okay.
What would you feel like it was sort of that moment for you where people are recognizing your stuff more?
Is it just one moment or
any? Yeah.
I feel like as a creative, for me, I can't speak for everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm still, reaching to a certain goal that I want to achieve. But some of my highlights I should say, not was. Some of my highlights is winning my first award, which was for Nate and Jamie in 2018. That was an amazing experience, especially for the first season. Thank you. Yes. And it was just we worked so hard on that, and that production quality wasn't even great for that, but I always, like I said, about the content, so that was great.
How did that feel though?
It felt great. It was like, and it was, that's a long story as well. That whole day as well. I was awake for 40 hours.
40 hours?
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
How does that even work?
That's a whole nother story for another time. So just, it was literally the moment of, this is what hard work is, and dedication and commitment to your passion and what you want to do. And also completing my 4 web series, to say that I have 4 web series, a lot of people can't even do one, that's a great achievement. I would say the web series that I exec produced, Tallyverses, getting, commissioned to develop a pilot for TV, which is currently happening right now as well.
Jeez, boy.
So that's great. And and it's hush hush, so can't say too much more about that. And the film that I just produced called Sunday Dinner, which is now on Amazon Prime in the UK and in America as well. People can watch it. So
what does that like sort of feel like once you see it's kind of like for example the Talia versus one where it's where someone's like, "You want to make this into a TV show." What's that feeling like?
It's great because, again, it's like hard work pays off.
Yes,
I don't like that saying because I feel like you can work so hard throughout your whole life and still not get where you're supposed to be. Some people will say, "Oh, you need to take responsibility for where you are in your career and life," but that's not always necessarily the way. I always think it's also when luck meets opportunity as well. So I feel like it was a great moment. And from when I was pitched the show and told about it, and then I saw the potential of it, I really pushed for it to get to where it's to be. So it's a proud moment for me because I set a goal and I knew that this could be a show. This could be a show. And so for it to be, being developed and stuff like that is great. So that's what I love about that. And to just continue to each year level up and get closer and closer to where I want to be is great as well.
What would you say is where you want to be?
Where I want to be is having my own commission, having my company be able to produce a show for television and film and stuff like that. That's what I want. We all want, amazing, like you want to win all the awards and get to all these rooms and stuff like that. But as long as I get to at least make, one show, which lasts for like 6 seasons or at least one feature film, at least I'll be happy with that. Do you know what I mean? At least I can say, what, I did that.
You've got that,
It's got to cinemas, got to TV, that's what's great. There's so many other stuff. I'd love to do many films and many TV shows and stuff like that. But as long as I get one, then that's my goal. And then we go from there.
Of course. And if you, let's say you had to pick between a TV show and a film, which one would you prefer?
I would say a TV show.
TV show?
Yeah.
Or is it because it's more consistent, or is it more...
That was always my dream from when I was young. Like, I've always been more of a TV lover than film. So, TV show first.
TV show first?
Yeah.
Any ideas or?
Yeah, loads, but
Ideas,
gotta keep that under wraps, man.
Of course. That's why I had to tiptoe those questions in. But now, obviously, like I said, you also had where you had your shows and stuff at film festivals and stuff like that. What are the film festivals like? Because I always kind of see it, but obviously from outside, I'm just kind of think, is it like a place where they just show real different films and then everyone watches, or is it kind of they pick select few to be shown?
Well, you submit your film to a film festival, and the judges, they will decide if they want to accept it or not.
Yeah.
And then once it gets accepted, they create a whole festival program.
Yeah.
And every single film what has been selected will be screened.
Yeah.
So how they schedule it is up to them. You know, so that's just how they do it. So depending on how big the festival is, it's scheduled in a certain way. They might have feature films one day, short films here, web series there, documentaries another day. Like, it just depends. I've been to small ones, I've been to big ones, and so it just depends on the show, the one you go to as well. So
that's wow. And the one thing that also, because in the middle of you talking about that, you touched up on when the hard work meets luck, and it reminded me of something that I heard Kevin Hart say pretty recently, which was like, essentially it was sort of on the line that you were on, but it was, he essentially obviously was a stand-up comic, and he was doing it for like from 19 till like 20. He made it, essentially he had this like his happening moment at like 33.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But before that, he would be in different little places here and there popping up, but it wasn't like Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And he said that he when he had that It's Happening Penny Lane moment, it was at Shaquille O'Neal's, like, he had an all-star event, and he said that someone got dropped out, and he had material that he already had prepared for a while, and he was like, I had that already ready, so I was just waiting for an opportunity to come around, and then I took that moment. He said that a lot of people, they get the opportunities, but they won't have the material or the infrastructure ready to seize upon. You know what I mean? That moment. And I found it really, really interesting, because it's kind of like what made me continue on doing TikToks. And YouTube essentially is kind of like, it may not be at the level that I want, but this is like building up a portfolio.
Yeah, I understand.
In terms of like, so then when the opportunity does come for something, you actually have something to show someone.
I agree.
And that comes with obviously a lot of hard work, and a lot of hard work comes with having a creative burnout.
Yeah, but you have to take breaks as well. You have to take breaks as well, and just schedule things accordingly. I feel like is that
how you like go beyond the creative burnout? Yeah,
because like after I had done so much, I was like, okay, I've done enough now, and I need to think, where's my career gonna go now? It still at times feels stagnant, but each year I'm getting closer to where I want to be. So it's about now being specific and strategic about what I accept, what role, what projects do I take on? It's about being strategic like that. I'm also going to a new era of my career as well, podcasting, hosting my own show, doing content creation myself as well.
Vlogging as well.
These are different things because, I'm establishing my brand in a different way as well, and it's something new to do. I love film, and I'm always going to be doing that. But there's nothing wrong with me being a host like this and doing stuff like that. We're creative, so we're going to continuously create. So it's that. But well.
I'll tell you one thing on that is kind of like for me, for example, like I like dabbling into different kind of things, but obviously when you like a lot of people talking about how to make it in the internet, and they're like, you have to find a niche. You have to stay in that niche. But for me, I'm someone that can't stay in one. Like sometimes I want to do podcasts, and sometimes I want to do the one where I'm doing like the informative kind of like daily show style. Other times I want to do a skit. Sometimes I want to talk about football. But it's kind of like, is that too much sometimes?
That's what they always say. Like when I first started in the industry, they were like, you've just got to go and stick to one thing. They were saying, they was like,
Stick
you've
to
got
one thing, yeah.
it has to be this to get to there. And it was like, that's not always the case. Like, I feel like everyone's route is different, you know, and you just have to go at your own pace. I've worked in so many different parts of the media industry, film, TV, broadcast operations, advertising. So my CV's all over the place.
Yeah, of course,
but what was I supposed to do? Say no because this isn't the direction that I wanted to go in my career. I needed to pay bills. I need to eat. So I was going to take any job what came, you know, to me. So I feel like I've seen that on social media as well. They're like, you've got to have a niche, it has to be this and blah, blah, blah.
Specific, and you have to keep going in that direction.
But then when you're still getting dead 200 views and like 10 likes, then what are you to do if you're still doing it? It's again, it's the algorithm what picks up. Like I vlog on my TikTok, and now I started to do loads of filmmaking industry tips and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
But I did
also do the crazy news.
Yeah, exactly. With my friend, where we talk about hot topics and stuff like that. Because again, I like hosting and talking about things. So, like I posted a video. What was it? Like a really simple video of like me going to this Asian food market.
Oh, bang bang.
Yeah. I never heard about it. My friend saw it on Instagram, and then he was like, "We need to go." So I was like, "Yes." Me and him love Asian food, so I just
Funny
went.
enough, I got COVID at that place.
Oh,
That's what I thrown out.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was the Euro finals.
Sorry, that is bad PR for them.
Yeah.
But it was a very simple video. I didn't even think I was gonna post it. I was like, I didn't get enough footage. I was like, you know, whatever. But then I decided, you know what? Let me just post it. Whatever. That video blew up. Like it has almost 400,000 views on TikTok. Secret London, that platform on Instagram, which has 1.6 million followers. They asked me if they could post it. I was like, sure. They posted it and stuff. Now I'm not getting paid, but again, I vlog all the time. But yeah, that's like, just one.
This worked, and it's not something that you necessarily, you know.
No, I mean, I vlog what I'm doing if I'm out doing stuff. Like this week, I told you I'm vlogging as well because it's a busy week. So you never know what's gonna take off. But then I was like, okay, maybe I need to be a food blogger. I did more food ones. Those flopped. So then
what works, man?
So this is what I'm saying. So when it comes to content creation, I don't feel like there's one hack. I feel like you just gotta just have fun with it and see how it goes.
That's straight. Unless you're like universally good looking.
Not
saying that you want.
No, but I understand what you mean. Like, you see, there's a lot of attractive people.
They just have to go. And then that's
exactly,
it.
Exactly.
Some of them talk about the dumbest things. They're like, yo, why is like grass like just so spiky?
Oh, it's like, I just hate my hair. Like, see how it just spikes up. It's like, I'm like, shut up, man.
You know, I know what you're doing because you perfectly angled the phone where the sun is hitting your eyes. You know what you're doing.
All the thirst traps and stuff like that. So yeah, I totally understand.
But like I said, content is just it's crazy what will pick up, what won't pick up, you know, like even like Instagram. I had one video that got almost, I think it's either like 8K or something.
Wow.
And it was like a skit that was just like a quick little funny skit about postcodes.
Yes,
I did another one.
Yes, that was funny.
Another skit, and then it flopped. So it's kind of, it was like the same premise. I was like, oh.
So that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. Hey, if somebody knows, if you guys know, let us know in the comments below what we're doing wrong.
That's
because I'm ready to live my influencer life. Like, please, brands pay me. Like,
of course,
exactly.
You know, I think I remember I had a big like creative burnout, and I love the person that kind of got me back into it was Emma Chamberlain.
Say what? You know her personally?
No, videos. I wish I knew about it. But no, I'll just watch it. But it was because it was like the editing was not, she barely does anything really. Like in terms of like, because like with me and my videos, I like to edit a lot. I just like to practice with different things and like slap this thing here and do a cut like this, a jump cut maybe there. Hers is like literally it's just a camera and she's just talking into it.
Yeah.
And then like the thumbnail doesn't even have to be something she works. It's just a picture of like maybe herself. Like quality is low. Everything is just like so like here it is just fresh straight from the camera, but it was just so good. And I was like, okay, cool. So you don't necessarily have to make it so much like bangs everywhere and flashes and
yeah, because even people who are doing like the best film ones with like amazing graphics and really sharp editing, that doesn't mean it's gonna go viral. Like you've seen like some great videos and it's like this should be in the millions, but
but it's not.
Yeah,
that's the thing. But I think, like you said, it mainly comes down to the content that you're essentially providing. But on top of that, I feel like the audience, like for example, let's say you're the tips that you're given for producers or basically anyone in the film industry.
Yeah.
All it does is just need to hit that audience algorithm, and then after that, people will find it.
Potentially.
That's essentially
because
it's just about getting to that. It's a bit, you know? And obviously it comes with like engagements and likes and that, but and then the bang bang one will just pop out of nowhere. But then it's kind of like that wasn't the audience you was kind of looking for.
No, not really. But at the same time, like even when I posted that video, it was just me doing random vlogs.
Yeah.
Like I would always just do that anyway.
Yeah, of course.
And then so now I'm still doing my vlogs. Like I still
just to see again if you can.
But it's also I'm just having fun with it. Like it's a fun hobby as well. But it's also a good thing just to do to continue to establish my brand as a host in that aspect as well. So,
absolutely. I mean, even like for me, like I'm slowly just getting into the more and more of just putting it out there wherever I don't really feel it. Like for example, Ed Sheeran. I listen to like loads of like creatives, like interviews and this and that, because you find a small thread that we're all interlinked with as creatives of like the the doubts and stuff. And he was like he didn't really like Shape of You.
Oh wow!
He said that he wrote that for someone else initially. He wrote for Rihanna. She wasn't. He was like then it wouldn't really suit her. So then he was like, you know what? Let me just and then he didn't want to initially put it out as a single, but then his label did, and he was like, nah, I want to put out Castle on the Hill. And then they were like, nah, we're fine, we'll put both of them out. And then Shape of You got like billions of...
that was massive.
Yeah. And he was like, he was about to just throw that one away because it was just like a bit of fun, So in my head, I'm kind of like, okay, cool, if I might not like this, then for some reason, many other people might like it, so let me just...
But it's also your creative art. Like, he was looking at his artistry, you know, as a musician, as a songwriter, it probably just didn't fit his vibe and stuff like that. But the commercial appeal of that song was there. So I feel like the label are looking at this could be a great hit.
Could
you could get, a lot of success with this. So, so it's also at that, just looking at it like that, it depends on what you want to do as an artist.
Yeah. Of course. This podcast here is by creatives for the creatives. Essentially, that's what our thing was about. Initially, obviously, it was about books, and then it kind of became more so into like just anything really creative. We did poems, we did movies, we did anything, and obviously having you on was a natural pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
have
much.
on, because it was like someone that's actually now in the industry, someone that's actually putting out material out there that people watch that can create discussions from, and actually in the world, and to obviously pick your brains on it, because as creatives, we all, like I said, we all feel the same thing. We all kind of go through the same ebbs and flows of it, 100%. No matter how successful you get. That's
exactly.
Like, but one thing I was also going to say was like, Matt Damon, he said that obviously he made the film Good Will Hunting. Personally, I haven't seen it. Apparently it's really good. I mean, he won like an Oscar for it, and he wrote it when he was like when he was young with Ben Affleck. But he said that his goal was the awards and all these things here, and he said when he got that Oscar, he was just looking at it in his house, and he just felt empty. It's like in a strange sense of like, despite this being what he was working for, once he had it, it was like this level of satisfaction that he was looking for wasn't necessarily there. And the reason why I brought that up, I kind of wanted to link it back to the book that I recommended to you, which was Atomic Habits, which is essentially liking and enjoying the journey more so then the actual accomplishment of the goal. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
the movie's done now. If it gets awards, it does. If it doesn't, it's fine. But I can't wait to go through the same process, writing and directing another movie and this and that.
No, but I get what you mean. It's good to have goals, but don't make your career your life. And that's what I used to do. I used to be like, this is me. This is my life. This is it. Like, I have nothing else. You know, my career is attached to my personality and who I am. But it's not healthy to be like that. So once I learned to separate it, I was able to be a lot better. So it's about figuring out what there is for you and what's more to life for you as well. So that's what it is. It's not saying throw away what you're doing, but
of course,
you know,
because
you see it all the time. All these millionaires and stuff, they work so hard to get to where they want to be, and then they're like, that's it. It's not as fulfilling as they thought it would be. But that's life because you've dedicated one thing to that. But actually, along the way, you should have found out what your passions are. What do you love? What do you care about? You know, as long as you have that as well, then once you reach that goal, you don't feel empty. You still feel whole.
Yeah, and you've enjoyed it along the way as well.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
obviously, I've enjoyed having this discussion with you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been very good. I'm looking forward to hearing it back.
No, of course. You know, with the cameras and everything. But like I said, we have the audios.
Yes.
Which is good. But like I said, I appreciate you as well for the promptness in always wanting to help me out.
Of course,
and
anytime.
Helping out other creators as well, such as our friend Nick. But like I said, I appreciate you very much. And this has been a great discussion. Well, for me personally, as a creative, I've learned a lot. And I hope all the other creatives out there learn just as much. So thank you for coming on.
No, you're welcome. Yes.
What a lad.
Thanks for listening to the Paper Trails podcast. If you like this episode, please leave a review, comment, like, and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on all our socials.
Keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.